But joining us now for reaction and the fallout over the growing tensions against police officers, law enforcement around the country. I want to welcome former New York City police officer Dan Bongino, along with Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark. Welcome, gentlemen. Great to have you here with us on this very emotional day. Let me begin with you, Dan. What was your reaction first to the remarks of the Vice President along with the Mayor of New York?
Well, I thought they were appropriate. This is not the day, obviously, to dial up the rhetoric. I think they did a poor job before today. Unfortunately, I wish they would have taken the same tack before, but they hadn't. But I thought the somber tone was appropriate, and I had no issue with the mayor attending, although I do have an issue with the way he handled the scenario up to now.
Give us a sense. I mean, you are a former police officer. You know this community really well, particularly where the funeral services are being held today. The depth of the emotion that runs deep with all of these officers and the thousands of people who participated from around the country who wanted to be here for this moment.
Yeah, I'm not usually at a loss for words, especially if you're on your network, but it's just tough, even sitting in the studio watching this. That was my bus stop when I was a kid. My parents owned Gibby's Bar, which is across the street.
Wow.
That Christ Tabernacle Church, there was that wasn't a church always, that was an indoor bazaar. There was a gym in the basement, a dingy old gym that used to let me work out there as a kid. Having been a police officer, a lot of the terrible things that happened to me in that apartment that made me want to wear that blue uniform. And to have this hero just sitting there in a car doing his job, you know, a guy who just wants to put cereal on the table for his kids in the morning, you know, to be carried out in a casket it's tough to watch and keep it together.
As I understand it, Officer Ramos also was a man of faith and was studying to be a chaplain.
From everything I've heard from former NYPD friends that I went to the academy with almost 20 years ago at this point, he was an outstanding police officer and an outstanding human being. And to watch these images right now, police officers flooding in from all over the country, it really is heartbreaking. You know, that's where I used to fill up my car to go to school. It's it's really difficult for me to watch.
You know, interesting also to point out that unfortunately there were police officers standing outside, who did turn their backs on Mayor de Blasio as he offered his remarks at the funeral. What's your reaction to that move?
Well, 2 points. I'll say, first, I understand. I get it. The emotions here are deep. These are men and women. It's a brotherhood for a reason. They're all in danger together. It's very difficult to explain the law enforcement esprit de corps, that feeling that you're all in this together, unless you've actually been there. I spent 19 years of my life in the Secret Service and NYPD. Secondly, I'll say I don't think it was the day for that. I think this is the day to at least try to make an attempt to move forward here. We do have a city to manage, and the city still has to be secured. And it really is it is difficult to watch, but I don't think it was the day for that.
As we take a look at these images, I want to bring in Sheriff Clark. Welcome, sir. Great to have you on the program today. You know, the police unions have said that the mayor, de Blasio, contributed to a climate of mistrust amid the protests over the deaths of Michael Brown and Eric Garner. Do you agree, and what do you think he needs to do to mend his relationship with the NYPD?
I agree with them wholeheartedly. Anytime a law enforcement officer is killed in the line of duty, we in law enforcement feel that a little of us dies along with them. And it's unfortunate that two of New York's finest had to lose their lives as violently as they did to change the rhetoric. The entire profession of policing has been totally trashed over the last 3 months. I thought it was despicable how the honor, the courage, the integrity, the character of our nation's finest was given up for purely political purposes. I understand what my colleague that I'm joining with today is saying, that there's a time and a place. However, I'm not willing to let this go that easily. I want to hear an apology, a direct apology from Mayor de Blasio, from the President of the United States, and from Eric Holder for using our institution of law enforcement to gain cheap political points. That, you know, what we're hearing today, okay, that's appropriate for today, but trust me, as soon as these two of New York's finest are laid to rest, that rhetoric will kick up again, because war has been declared on law enforcement all across the United States.
So you're basically saying that for the last several months that there's been a campaign beginning at the top to suggest that all police are bad and that they're allegedly racist.
Maliciously maligned, all right, unqualified and baseless, and I think everybody knows that. I've said in many interviews I've had, we're far from perfect. We know that. But we do a good job of rooting out the bad ones that we have. And if you look, and I've said 99.9+% of law enforcement officers report to work every day, put their best foot forward to go out and serve their community. So if we're going to take this small fraction of incidents, and that's all this is, and try to use this as some universal scheme, if you will, or an indictment about our American police officers, I think that's just totally wrong. What this does, this is a deflection, Uma. All right? This deflects against the real thing that we need to have a conversation about in this country. And it's the American ghetto. And that's where most of the policing, unfortunately, has to be applied. The American ghetto has chronic poverty, high unemployment where people can't find meaningful work, and kids shackled to failing public schools, ensuring that they won't reach their God-given potential. This creates a permanent underclass in this country and ensures that this group of people will continue to live life at the bottom. That's the conversation that we need to have as to how these failed liberal government policies have led to the creation and emergence of the welfare state, and that characterizes the American ghetto. Let's have that conversation and get off this nonsense that it's the policing profession that needs to be transformed. There's nothing wrong with the profession of or the institution of policing in America.
Dan, let me get your thoughts on this as you listen to your colleague there from Milwaukee. Give me your thoughts on this.
Well, I think, sadly, a chief executive's first role, whether it's the president, a governor, or a mayor, is order. Order through law, the fair and appropriate enforcement of the law. And I think when the mayor and the president, frankly, and Eric Holder had the opportunity to say things that would have led to a series of better tomorrows, whether it was improvement in community police relations, training improvements, the development of new police technologies, things that would heal, that's not what they did. If there was a series of 5 or 6 options, they picked the most damaging option. And although I'm not going to go as far as to say that they caused this, I am going to go as far as to say they did absolutely nothing to help the situation. And that's not leadership, that's political gamesmanship. And when you have 2 dead police officers, I think this should be a wake-up call to everyone.
Sheriff, I want to ask you, we're running out of time here, but really quickly, the concerns that you have about the increased number of threats that we're hearing against law enforcement across the country right now.
Well, that's kind of what this irresponsible, inflammatory rhetoric has led to, unfortunately. But I think the way forward, and there is a way forward, it's for an apology, a public apology, a direct apology for these individuals that have been slamming the police for the last 3 months. Any repair in a relationship, as you know, Uma, starts with an apology.
I hear you. Well, this is a very sad day for the nation, and as we continue to look at the live pictures there from Queens, New York, with thousands of officers attending the funeral services for their brother in blue. A very, very sad day indeed. Gentlemen, thank you so much for taking time out to join us on this day. We really appreciate your insights.